Alright, Book Dragons, I am back. So we're here to do my wrap up for the second half of May. Honestly, in May, I tend to read the least, but this month we did switch up our production schedule a little bit. And I did have a show this month, but it was not as complicated as shows in the past. So I think I actually got more reading done. And due to that, and definitely from To Escape, which is my second favorite readathon, I did wind up reading 22 things. We're only going to talk about the second half, and if you want to see the first half, just go look on my channels and I will show you the first half. But yeah. Oh, and let's go over the stats, but then we'll, these are a combination and we're just going to focus on the second half of the month. I read 22 things. I read 7,346 pages. An average page count per day was 236, which is really good for me. My average page count was 333. I read a lot of mysteries this month, which often tracks. I read 2 books with 12 from authors I've read before, and I hauled 10 books, which definitely is slower than last month when I went to BookCon. I had 5 5-stars, 0 4.5 stars, 14 4-stars, 2 3.5 stars, 1 3-star for an average rating of 4.14. I read 14 new releases, 3 backlists, 5 from last year. I read 9 physical, 10 audiobooks, 0 mixed media. I rarely do mixed media. I will pick a format and finish it. And then ebook, I read 3. And then I started 7 series. I continued in 5. I caught up with 3, and I read 10 standalone. I read 3 middle grade, 9 a young adult, and 10 adult. That's that. I'm actually reading a lot more young adult this year. I am picking up a lot more contemporary books, which I am really liking. And then I read 9 ARCs, 4 from Audible, 1 from KU, 7 from the library, 1 from NetGalley, and owned and ever. And those stats are sometimes a little bit off. I read 3 fantasy romance, 6 mystery, 4 romance, 4 fantasy, 1 science sci-fi, 2 manga or graphic novel, 1 contemporary, 1 thriller. So yeah. Okay, let's go into the stats. I'm trying not going to talk forever, I want to get myself moving, but we do want to wrap up the book so we can move on till June. But the first book that I wound up reading, I believe, is, we're going to talk about The Faraway Inn first. Yes, this one's the next one we're talking about. Okay, so this was a cozy fantasy. I actually loved this book. It was so cute. I think I gave this book 5 stars. I just had a fun time with it. Follows a main character named Callista, and she winds up going back to her aunt's, little bed and breakfast, and things are not as they seem, and she winds up having to team up with Jack, a local handyman there, to figure out what is going on. And this is one of my books from Sarah Beth Durst, and I have really loved all of her other books in this series. This one is very, very cute. It's a sweet, cozy romance, just a sweet romance, and it's just fun. I really want to get more books set in this world. If you like the Innkeeper series by Alona Andrews, I would pick this book up. It's just quiet. It's not, there is some tension because there is a mystery kind of infused in the story. But it's very, very cozy stakes, little vibes, and it's set in a modern world. So if you didn't want to pick up her other series because it was too fantastical for you, this one might be a good one. And it has little to no spice, maybe some kissing, but it's just fun. It has a contemporary tilt to it as well. Our main character is dealing with a lot of situations in her modern day life, and I just had a fun time with it, and I gave this book 5 stars. And the next book I read is Take the Honey and Run by Jenny Martz. I will attach a photo of that book here. Picked up from Amy Marie. It was a cozy mystery set in Colorado, set at a bee farm. And I read both books this series, so maybe I'll actually tag team and I'll talk about them both now. I read them a couple of weeks apart. But I really did like this series. I will attach a photo of both of those books here. Very fun series, and I really want to get more. We left off book 2 on quite a big cliffhanger, but she hasn't read anything since 2024, so I don't know if we're going to get more books in the series. But I really liked it. It was a fun cast of characters, small town vibes, and I liked the characters in this one, so I hope we get more. But I have caught up, which is really exciting. So yeah, and the next book I read is The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances by Glenn Dixon. I will attach a photo of that book here. Recommended on booktube. I remember the prompt because I had this one set aside, and it was a science fiction graphic novel about a little Roomba in this little society, and he has to save his owner, and it was very, very cute. I really like this one. It was like, you know, I sometimes struggle with novellas because I feel like you don't get enough of the world building in a novella. Sometimes you can, but I feel like when I read novellas, I just get a little bit shortchanged. This book I felt a little bit shortchanged, but it was very, very cute. It was very, very quick. And I would read more by this author. But if you like The Brave Little Toaster but want a bit more of a science fiction-y story, or like about robots and inanimate objects, I would pick this one up. I used this for my R Fantasy Bingo for an older protagonist, and I had a fun time with it. And then the next book I read was actually a reread for me. I reread The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I will attach a photo of that book here. Fastly approaching July when we are getting the final book, and I was really hoping to do a full re-listen to this book series before we get there, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But I do love this series. It's one of my favorites by her. Jennifer Lynn Barnes writes such like tightly wound books, and I just really like enjoyed this one. So I had a fun time with it. It was a great listen. Normally I physically read them, so having a re-listen was fun, and I really want to go into the Heartstone Legacy soon. But I had a fun time, and on first time I read it, I gave it 5 stars, and I also did really like the audiobook as well. And the next book that I read was Dawn on the Coast, which is a Babysitter Club graphic novel. I will attach a photo of that book here. At this point, I always read these. They're very, very cute. This one had a lot of friendship dynamics. I had Dawn going to visit her parents or her dad on the West Coast and kind of having some hesitations about coming back. I like this book. I gave it 4 stars. I really do like this whole series, and I'm so sad the Babysitter Club series got like canceled because I just love the adaptation, but I will deal with these for the moment, and I am having a fun time with these as well. And then this is when I read a lot of things like out of order because of the prompts and where we were at. So I read This Book Will Make Me Think of You by Libby Page. I will attach a photo of that book here. Making its rounds, I will say that. And basically you follow a main character. It's set in England. She, you know, new year, new you. She gets a phone call from a bookstore that her husband, before her husband passed away, he put aside 12 books to help her through her year of grieving, and she kind of goes to the bookstores and kind of get these books, and these books kind of take her on a journey. There is a subtle romance plot, very, very grief focused, and I had a fun time with it. I really enjoyed it. I think if you're a book lover, you would love this. I think that it does get a little bit monotonous. It is a little bit more women's fiction-y. There is a romance element. It does have a lot of like grief sub-talk and stuff like that. So I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. And it was just a fun, quick listen. Something I could put down easy. So like I wasn't, this was when I was putting books down for prompts, because for Escape you had to read for prompts or for pages. And it was an easy book to put down. But I did like it, and I gave it 4 stars. And the next book I finished was Shadow Reaper by Lynette Nomi, and I like this book a lot. I gave this book 5 stars. This book and my next book suffered a little bit because I read them so close together, and I also kept having to put the book down. But this follows a main character named Burden, and she is trained to be a Shadow Reaper, and things kind of go from there. And there's like a war on the horizon. There is a lot of a ragtag group of heroes, and there are characters that are forced to work together. There's friends to enemies more trope, and I just had a great time with this story. I don't really remember the details of the story because I read it so close to Curse Keeper, which is the book I'm going to talk about next. But both of these books was like a hot, this book was a 5 star. I think Curse Keeper was more like a 3.75 star, but I really had a fun time with this and hope that more people pick that up. I really do like this author's writing styles. I have read almost everything that they have written except for one book, and she's a fun book. Like a fun read. It was fast paced. It was, you know, dark. It had some a lot of mystery elements tied into it, and I had a fun time, and I gave this book 5 stars. And then the next book we're going to talk about is Curse Keeper by Alexandra Christou. I will attach a photo of that book here. Until November. And there's an entire possibility I might reread this when it comes out in November, or if I get a physical arc, because I put this book down so many times, and it really have a hard time differentiating it between Shadow Reaper. I remember I liked it. There was a library system. There was a lot of twists and turns. The main character that was kind of trying to save the library. And I had a fun time with it. I just feel like this book and that book were very, very similar, and I kind of mix up which story I'm reading because I read them so close together at the same exact time. But I did like it. I did give it 3.75 stars. It might go up if I reread it in the future, and that is where we are. And then the next book I read was the Jenny Martz book, and I talked about that one already, but I gave that book 4 stars, and it would wrap up the series for me. And then I wound up reading another one. I wound up reading An Embroidery of Souls by Ruby Martinez. This is another YA fantasy book that I don't think got nearly enough love and attention. It's a nice reversal of fortunes for our 2 main characters. You have a main character named Jade who deals with a lot of social, emotional stuff, a lot of anxiety, and she is a thread witch. Her mother goes missing, and she kind of has to team up with a young boy named Luke to kind of figure out what is happening, but why did her mom go missing, and why are people being murdered. And it's kind of a reversal of fortune, because Jade is a very different type of character than what you expect, and Lucas is a very different type of character, and it just talks a lot about class and culture, and there's a lot of like mythology kind of infused in the story. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I will say that its pacing is a little bit choppy. I think you could tell that it's like a debut, but I really liked what she did with this book, and I hope she writes more books in the future, because I will definitely pick them up. And the next book that I read was The Princess Academy, a graphic novel by Shannon Hale and Victoria Ying. I like this book. I don't think I loved it as much as I was hoping. I will say my edition wasn't all colored, and I always sort of struggle with this, and I also couldn't read it on my Kindle, so I'm gonna give this book 3 stars. I picked it up at ALA, and I was trying to get through my arcs because I am going back at the end of June. But yeah, I gave this book 3.75 stars. It wasn't a new favorite, unfortunately, but I did read it. And then I re-listened to Laying Down the Latte by Ellie Alexander. I will attach a photo of that book here. For me, I've actually reread a lot in the last month, and I don't know, I'm not a big rereader, but these books I did enjoy. This I've listened to every single Ellie Alexander book, and the last couple I've had to read because they came out so long ago, and I don't know why there was such a big break. But this has her go on vacation to a coffee farm, and there's a murder along the way. I really did like this book. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm hopeful to keep reading as the audios come out. And the next book that I read was The Dork Park Murders by Angela Barker. This book is a cozy romantic fantasy about a main character named Juliet who works at a dog grooming place. She's going to take her foster puppy for a walk. She finds up finding someone dead in the dog park, and she is the most likely suspect. And then Joel runs the brood, and they have a very, very sunny, grumpy sunshine romance. And I like this book. I gave it 4 stars. I really hope we get another book in the series. If you're looking for a cozy romantic suspense, I would pick this one up. And if you like animals, because the animals are very prevalent to the story. And the next book that I read was Everyone's Favorite Guy by Catherine Center. This is one of the Amazon short stories. I will attach a photo of that book here. 51-page short story from Amazon. I liked it. Again, I do really struggle with short stories, especially short ones, but I love Catherine Center's writing. And this one was like a friends to enemies to more quick, wintry story, and I liked it. I gave it 3.75 stars. Not super memorable, but I enjoyed it. And then I wound up reading Young World by Shomi Shami. This is a graphic, a YA thriller written in multimedia format about a 16-year-old or even younger that gets made president of the United States, and things go from there. It definitely is a thriller. There is a lot of stuff that happens in this story. I think because of the format like this and me not listening to it, I definitely felt a little bit disconnected from the characters. But I would recommend it. I think it had a lot of political chatting about it, and I enjoyed it. It just wasn't a new favorite. I gave this book 3.75 stars. And then the last book that I finished reading in the month of May was Wandering Wild by Lynette Nomi, and I gave this book 5 stars. I love this. Basically, you have a main character named Zayden who's an actor. He kind of has a little bit of trouble. He's bad boy image, all the things, and he winds up forced going on a reality TV show. And then our girl named Charlie doesn't really want to go on the reality TV show, but her best friend is a major fan of this guy, and her best friend can't go because she's had a complication with her cancer treatments. She's in remission, but she's having some breathing episodes, so they kind of have to go together, and it's televised. I love this book. This book talks so much about grief, loss, friendship, just so many modern day topics. I forgot how much I love YA books, and this is a big reason why. I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. So yeah, those are, and then like TV wise, what was May? May was insanity. May was crazy for me because it was so much happened in May. I definitely went through a phase where I kind of like rewatched a lot of things. I rewatched The Vow. I rewatched The End of The Vow. I rewatched Seduce. I watched season 1 and 2 of Running Point. I watched Stranger Things, Tales from 85. I watched Off Campus, and I finished RJ Decker. So those were the shows that I watched in this month, and I had a really, really good month. So let me know in the comments what is a book that you read in the month that you really loved, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, book friends.